Hello, 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 and welcome to Rainbows Rising, where we ascend together. I'm your host, Rainbow Raaja, and today I actually have a co-host for you guys. We have another podcaster on. We have Kerri Hummingbird. She is the host of Soul Nectar, which is one of the most popular spiritual podcasts. I recommend you guys check it out. Welcome, Kerri. It's such a pleasure to have you on today.
Thank you, Rainbow. I'm excited to be here. See what we talk
So,
about.
yeah, right. So tell us a little bit about your journey, and I know you just wrote a book, and so I'm hoping that we'll get into, what that was about and what inspired that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, big picture, I suppose, is in this lifetime I've been integrating and healing my former lifetimes, most of the healing has been integrating my lifetime on the Trail of Tears as a Cherokee peace chief.
Mm.
And the experience was quite traumatic in terms of what I witnessed people go through who I had deep love for.
Mm.
And in this life, I have been experiencing, um, grief, a lot of pain. And of course, I thought when I was younger, I didn't remember, of course, this lifetime. It took a while to remember this. But I wondered, why am I in so much pain? Like what is happening with me?
Mm.
And there was some early childhood trauma, so a lot of it was attributed to that trauma, 1 to 5, when my mom married my first stepfather, and he was a violent drunk. And so a lot of it,
Mm.
the suffering, I thought, well, is because of that. That's what my mom certainly thought. But in the bigger context, I now see that it that was there to provoke some of that pain, and there was things going on, but there was actually a lot deeper pain that was needing to be healed. And you can only heal things when you're incarnated, so you have to be in a body to heal things that you experience
Mm.
in a lifetime. And so if you don't heal it inside the lifetime, and when you come back again, then that's sort of left over, like it needs reconciliation. So this life has been about reconciling that life and also stepping into the bigger level of service that I've been invited to be in this life. And before I could do that, I had to reconcile the last life. So you see the little circle that I've been in.
Yep.
So yeah, so there's a lot going on. And certainly in many of our lifetimes, you might be able to see um, relationships that don't, it's like, it doesn't make sense why they have to be so negative or so traumatic. It's like, what's in this relationship? Why is it this way?
Mm.
And a lot of that has to do with karma, that just needs reconciliation. So some of my key relationships in this life were based on that model, things that needed to be reconciled.
Now,
So,
is that
huh?
do you suppose that's just a medicine person or a shamanic path? Because man, I really resonate with that. I really resonate with finding people that seem to be really strong connections. You follow this heart connection. You're like, "Oh man, this person feels familiar." Well, why do they I never took the time to figure out why they felt familiar, or I just felt strong about it. I was like, "Yeah, I know this person." And it didn't always turn out so great.
Yeah, there is that. Yeah, so yeah, with my first husband, I had the lightning across the room, like it was like this huge electricity, and it was undeniable, right? So in
Hmm.
my gullibility, I guess, I thought, oh, this is my soulmate, right? Like,
Yep.
because there's
Yup.
electricity. I'm supposed to be with this person.
Mm-hmm.
And it was true. I was supposed to be with this person to work out some things. But if I was more conscious about it as I am now, I might have chosen to work through it in a different way than getting married and having children. I might have chosen some other way of working out that karma than to dive into the deep end of the pool on that.
I think there's so many of us out there that know that struggle. I know I'm with you on that. I've dived right into some what I thought were so, like I wasn't awakened at the time I met this person back in 2010. I was like, yeah, this is the one. I know it. I can feel it. And like things were so perfect all the time, like too perfect, you know? Turned out that Mr. Perfect also was a really good actor or liar, whatever you want to call it. Whatever you want to call it. So I know exactly, I know that struggle. And the child thing makes it real complicated. Real
Yeah,
complicated.
once you have children, you're sort of committed, you know. At least I was because I had divorce in my early life and I vowed that I
Mm-hmm.
didn't want to have that for my kids. I didn't want my kids to go through that. And then when it turned out that that was the best course of action for my kids, I had to relinquish that desire and go ahead and get the divorce and move on in a way that would be at least healthier for me and my kids. So, yeah, and in the course of all of this inquiry, I was going along in the early part of my life, sort of just not understanding why I was feeling so much depression or I was feeling the way I was feeling. And then not understanding why certain relationships, like with the one with my mom, was so difficult, so challenging. Like, why is this
Mm-hmm.
so hard? And not understanding why, my relationship with my first husband was that way. Like, and I was in this cycle of going to therapy every week. Like, what is wrong here? Like, it should be, in my mind, it should be easier. There should be conversation without like so much defensiveness. We should be able to understand each other. We should be able to speak and
Mm-hmm.
understand one another. Why is it not happening? And why do I feel so bad about myself? Like, why am I so guilty? Why am I so feel like it's all my fault? Why, like all these things I didn't understand in the greater context that I've now arrived at. I can see, oh, that was me from my other life reconciling all those feelings. Like I felt so responsible for everything that happened. I felt responsible for advocating for peace when that advocacy ended up with my people losing everything. And so I
Mm-hmm.
felt a lot of responsibility. And so what I was actually resolving was that. And it didn't,
Mm-hmm.
like this lifetime's experiences were to stir that up in some regard, with some viable explanation for why I was feeling the way I was feeling. But it didn't encompass the grief. Like there's no way like it could even touch that level of grief, the things that were going on in this life. So it never made sense to me. And then I said, okay, I did this psychotherapy thing for 20 years. Maybe I'm just made this way. Maybe I just am
Mm-hmm.
made to have highs and lows and, this intense feelings and tune into everything. And maybe, who knows what, but maybe it's just meant to be
Oh,
that way.
they told you that too? That they gave you that spiel? I'm familiar with that spiel.
Yeah, about the drug, here, take your happy
Yeah,
pills.
yeah. Here's your Abilify and your Zoloft and your Prozac, and you'll even out once we find the right combination. Right
Yeah. And
combination.
meanwhile, I'm behind a glass wall and I can't feel anything and I don't feel like myself.
Mm,
And in that space of not feeling like myself and behind this glass wall, I found out that I could be incredibly cold-hearted and mean and do a lot of really mean things because I couldn't really feel what I was doing. So I could
mm-hmm.
act out, so that's what I did. But then I would feel then the same, it would like just keep stacking on the guilt and remorse, like all the bad feelings
This,
underneath
yeah,
the feelings I
yeah.
didn't want to feel. Who wants to feel guilt and remorse? Like, I don't think anybody does. It's not fun.
I, you know, I have never met someone who like I resonate with your journey so much because it's a mirror of mine. Like I literally feel like I'm listening to my own Like it's so
My life.
bizarre.
This is my life.
Yeah. This is my life. And I mean, I really struggled with my mother too. And I know your book was a little bit about that, right? The mother wounds and working on healing that. And I know my mom, in her love for me, she was the one that instigated putting me in therapy and getting me this help when really I just want my parents not to be fighting constantly. I'm pretty sure, like, when you're talking about this past life thing that you carried and you had no awareness of, like, I remember this deep agonizing sorrow that I still to this day have no, I can't express it to people. I can't explain it. There I mean, it was a vast empty void of, it was like a black hole that sucked everything, every ounce of life out of my essence. And that's like the best, I mean, and that doesn't even touch it. And I don't know what that was as a child. There wasn't anything logical to go behind that. So when you're talking about past lives, and like, I've had some visions of past lives, but nothing like what you're talking about. And so I'm quite curious if that might be part of my journey too, is
Well, I've
exploring
heard
that.
your yeah, the meditation and the drumming and the channeling that you do, I would say that's accurate. Yeah,
I'll
something
be
to look
looking
into.
into that. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say so. You guys go check out Rainbow's episode on Soul Nectar Show, coming out soon. Well, later this year actually, but check it out because it's, yeah, you'll hear what I'm talking about. Probably heard it on the podcast already, but yeah, I would say that I was trying to explain that similar thing, like why do I just feel this tremendous sadness? And I would also have joy, I would have feelings of joy, but I would have this feelings of sadness over me that didn't make a lot of sense. And when I had my first child, my first son, the biggest wave of sadness just came over me. It was amazing. Like I was in a huge postpartum depression, and they were trying to, explain why I was feeling this way. And I think some of it had to do with probably just not being in the right relationship and not admitting that to myself. But it was even
Mm,
beyond that. Like it was profound. And and I realized also some of it was because when you become a mother, um, any unresolved traumas from the earlier part of your life, they get stirred up. They come up for healing. They come up for release. And our children
mm-hmm,
are like our vehicles for seeing our own wounds and our own traumas. And,
mm-hmm,
because they take it on for us in the womb. And, they sign up to do that as souls. So it's part of the scheme of things. But it's also really painful to watch that happen and to see your own wounds replicated in your children. It's painful to watch that happen and want to be able to come in and rescue, and
mm,
you can't actually, and you can just be present with it and deal with your own stuff that comes up. So that's really been a huge journey, and I would say that I've been on this journey of healing the mother wound my whole life, and considering my former life, where the whole way of being of the Cherokee, like the whole way of living in harmony with the earth and with all of the creatures of the earth and with Mother Nature, it's like to have that destroyed is just a
mm,
profound sadness. And this life has been about restoring that connection, healing the mother wounds. And I know that it was part of the plan, to come back in a body that looks like this. And, it's sort of like I keep my enemies closer, you know? It's like if my enemies are destroying my family and destroying my tribe and destroying the earth, what's my strategy? Well, as a being of light that is Native American, that understands the cycle of life and new life, and that we're going to get another lifetime, and that we're these beings that keep coming back over and over again, my strategy was I'm going to inhabit that which has destroyed my way of life. and I'm
I
gonna
am
go
getting
heal it.
such chills,
Chills
man.
all up
So
and down your
many
body.
chills.
Yeah.
Yes. And, like,
Hmm.
I have been so conflicted because I'm a peacekeeper.
You're a
Maybe,
peace chief.
I'm a peacekeeper. And so having this whole thing about cultural appropriate, it's a touchy subject. I don't like to claim anything because I want to stay honoring of the the native tribes and their culture, and I have no blood culture there. I can't claim that. And because it's so unknown, and I respect everyone's belief systems, like I have to say that you're so brave to come out and like live your truth, which is like we all are individually experiencing our internal process of what we interpret this life to be. And some people are alien princesses. Some people, want to go around and spread the word of God. And some people just know in their cells that they were someone else. And like, I respect that so much to come out and be so proud about it, because I know that you and I had talked individually, and I do have a fear of, you know, fine, I'm afraid, but like I don't want people to be like, "Hey, you're this bad person." I want to be good. I want to do good.
Well,
And
you
I
know
don't want
what? I had the
to
same
this off
fears.
anyone.
Rainbow, I had the
Yeah.
same fears. And in meditation, I talked to the ancestors and I said, well, people are going to be pretty upset, that I'm
Yeah.
coming out with my drum and I'm talking about this and they're going to think I'm an imposter, or they're going to say,
Mhm.
you can't be because look at you. Like, you got like
Yep.
1/16 of Cherokee, please.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
they said, well, if anybody gives you trouble, you just ask them if they've been talking to their ancestors. I was like, okay. So that made sense to me. If we're talking to our ancestors and we know the plan, and sometimes the plan is long, sometimes the plan is generational.
It's a long game, not the
It's the
short
long
game.
game, not the short game. And, it's like you sometimes you got to make some sacrifices in order to get the bigger picture. So we have to prioritize. What's the most important thing? The most important thing is the survival of the species on the planet in harmony
Mhm.
with all of life on Earth. What teachers achieve that, in my opinion, the best? Native people. People live close to the earth. The Cherokee, all the other tribes, the tribes I work with in Peru, in Mexico, these indigenous tribes that kept their wisdom strong. And for that reason, I also really appreciate those that said my role is to hold my tribe's medicine close
Mhm.
and not to let outsiders in, to protect this medicine. I also honor that because that serves a role. Because now, as let's say the Caro people have held their medicine really close in the Andes Mountains to, just protected it and isolated themselves and insulated themselves from these other belief systems that were encroaching. As they held that precious, they have this tremendous connection to Mother Earth, and they understand the interconnectedness of all of life on Earth.
I know you had talked about how important healing Mother Earth is, because that's the biggest mother wound we possibly could have, is the fact that human beings are not in a harmonious relationship with our mother, the earth. And so I just wanted to hear a little bit about that, and how we can all treat her
Yeah,
better.
absolutely. So the more connected we are to Mother Earth and the better we listen, the more we'll get the signs, the signals, and the next steps that we individually need to take to share our gifts towards the manifestation of New Earth. And
Mm-hmm.
so what's important is to clear the channel, to clear the pipe so you're a hollow bone, so that you're really getting a clear message that is unobstructed by attachments to wanting certain things a certain way, and a lot of people use the term ego. I would just say, human attachments. So we want to allow our soul to fully immerse with earth consciousness through the body, through the vessel. And the pathway to doing that is by being super in touch with your body, really aware and really listening. And the way to do that is you got to quiet the mental chatter, right? Like, so you have to get out of your head and into your heart and into your body. And that's challenging because the more brilliant you are, especially for women that have been living in this patriarchal society that, this Western mind, it really has demanded external proof that you know what you're talking about, accolades,
Mm-hmm.
certifications, degrees, mental prowess, that, good vocabulary, and all of these things that show that you know what you're talking about. You have some kind of, merit externally for your wisdom. But true wisdom comes from the soul. And
Mm-hmm.
so the you could kind of think about the first part of your life as cultivating this mental prowess in the externalized Western configuration, how to get all those words and all that accolades and all that knowledge inside of yourself. And you build this really strong, really smart system, but it's limited because it's human and it's not being led by the soul. And so that part of the journey is a surrendering. So you got to surrender this whole vessel, everything you work so hard for, your identity, your doctorates, your little acronyms at the end of your name. Everything has to be surrendered in humility to your soul. And and then when it is, then you have this beautiful synthesis, and then the wisdom can just come out because you put everything in the container that the soul needs in order to really be effective in this time frame, in this period of
Mm-hmm.
time and space. So that part is hard because you're then your human gets really attached to not wanting to look like a fool or not wanting to piss people off or self-deprecation or other martyrdom or other dragons, that can bring you clog up your pipe, so to speak, so that you're not getting the clear downloads, or you're not acting from the clear downloads that would bring you to the next level in service to the planet. So there's a lot that has to be cleared out of the pipes, and that's why what's important is to do the inner work. So a lot of the first thing that people get clogged up about is who's to blame for the condition of their life, because it's at some point you get to this place in your life where you're like, it's not what I want. I was lied to. I was sold a bill of goods. I did all the things I was supposed to do, and then it didn't end up the way I'm not happy. So it didn't work. Somebody's to blame for this, right? And the first people you want to blame is your parents. That's like
Yep.
the first people you want to blame. So this process of healing the mother wound is about understanding that the soul level perspective, that you actually chose your parents, and you not only chose them, but you chose your ancestry because of the gifts. Like I chose my ancestry. I chose this
Mm-hmm.
because I was in this ancestry before when I was in that other body, that on the Trail of Tears. And so I chose this incarnation. I created this incarnation so that I could be in the same lineage with myself, so that I could heal. So it's like bookends, bookends. I can heal this.
Mm-hmm.
And and you have soul agreements, right? So my mom, who we've had challenges this whole life, right? She also chose to come in the spot she chose to come in to be a disruptor of patterns, um and to be a warrior of light. And so she chose like some shadows, like struggle and provocation and other things that would help be like disrupting energies. And then she was my mom, but I came in really sensitive, and not really
Mm-hmm.
knowing any of this, not remembering. So I came in not remembering. My soul chose not to remember. So I came in not remembering. And I was wondering why she was so mean, and gosh, and then these conditions got set up. But see, all of that was necessary because why? Because I needed to have the struggle and provocation so that I would provoke these ancient feelings and be able to heal them. I needed to feel
Mm.
like it was all my fault because I felt like it was all my fault in the other life, and I needed to heal feeling like it was all my fault. I needed to find my way out of that to like, listen, no, we're all in this together. This is us. This isn't one savior. We're not doing Jesus again. Like, we're done with that. So this is about all of us coming together and healing it collectively, each of us taking personal responsibility and not more than our share. So take on the part that's yours, and let other people take on the part that's theirs. So all of these I took on. This was my soul's curriculum. I accept that now because I've healed the mother wound. And so now my mother and I, my biological mother and I, are having a fantastic time going through her gene keys and my gene keys. And, that's a tool we use to understand ourselves. And just like, oh, yeah, you had this and I have this. And isn't that cool? Because I learned this from you. And it was all a big setup and we know it. And so we're talking more like souls now. So we have this clearing. Because we have this clearing, we're now able to bring in more love and create a field of love that's powerful enough to bring love and attract more people from our family back in to the family,
Mm.
healing our individual family, you know and this is a demonstration of what could happen in the whole collective, because if you can
Mhm.
face your family with love, if you can heal old wounds and resentments in your family, the people closest to you, then that's you can do it with anybody, because I mean, it's hardest
Yeah.
with your family, right?
Yeah, I have a difficult relationship with my parents. As we all do, right? But my mom and I over the past 2-ish years have been working on well, I've been working because I'm conscious about it on kind of resolving some of these things and putting them out on the table. And one of the most powerful moments actually was quite recently when I was sharing a situation with my parents. And my dad is a fixer. He hears something, he gives out. He doesn't want to deal with the problem. He like wants nothing to do with it. He just wants it over because it stresses him out. So he's like, "Yeah, you should do this and you should do this." And I'm like, "I wasn't asking for your opinion on what I should do." And so my mom then comes in and is like talking over him and yelling about things and freaking out. And I just was like, both of you, please quiet down. Let me tell you what I need because neither of you are doing that. I actually told my parents specifically the reaction, what I needed from them. I was like, Mom and Dad, I just want you guys to hear my struggle, hear my situation, and that's it. Just acknowledge that it was heard, that you understand my emotional reaction to the situation. You don't have to solve it. You don't even have to relate to it. I just want you to accept it is my reality. And they were like, "That's it?" I was like, "Yes, that's all I've ever wanted my whole life. I just want you guys to go, oh wow, we did, when you were a kid, you felt this, and this was real to you. We didn't. I don't want denial. I don't want excuses. I don't want what was going on in your private life. I just want you to hear that that was my experience and be cool with it." And so we did. They literally were like, "Oh, well, we accept that that was your experience." And I was like, finally.
Yeah,
And
you
it was
got
like
what
such
you
a
wanted.
powerful moment for me. Like I cried after our phone call. I was like, thank you. So I'm hoping that I know that we've talked since, and for like things in my life, my parents will now just hear me. They will hear, they know they don't have to do anything. I'm usually not calling for advice. I can handle my own life at this point. But it was just a really neat shift that happened. Normally there's a huge blow up. We're very My parents are actors, so we're all like really dramatic about everything. But it was such a peaceful, graceful surrender. That's all you want? Yes. That's all I want. Oh, okay. It was so nice.
Nice. Well, and that's really the way, right? Is to listen to each
Mhm.
other without trying to fix it or advise. offer suggestions, make it go away. All of that reaction response is because the person you're telling your story to is super uncomfortable with whatever you're saying, and they want the
Your
discomfort to
truth.
stop. And so, this is a path for the healers. So next year I'm doing a healer training. This year I do a 1-year program, which is the
Mm,
Andean path of building a personal mesa. It just connects you to the earth through rock energy, things like that. Next year, I'll be teaching the
mm,
healer program that builds on that. And in that program is going to be a whole segment on deep listening and noticing triggers. Like, where do you want to jump in and offer a solution? Where do you want to jump in and give the answer? Where do you want to jump in? Like, basically, where do you want to jump in? And why? Because what's going on inside? What is your reaction inside that makes you want to jump in and fix it with your solution? Because usually it's discomfort. It's like, oh, I don't like the way this person's feeling. I want them to stop feeling sad, or I want them to stop feeling angry, or I don't, or somehow I think I'm to blame for it, right? Like that martyr complex.
Now, does this also apply for people? Like I know that the way I interact is a little different. People say it's an autistic trait. I don't know what it is. But I know when I listen to somebody's story, the way that I relate and the way that I like find a way to connect with people is to insert my own story. Some people think it's selfish. I can see where they come from. But like, is that kind of the same thing as like noticing that trigger as well, or is that a totally different thing? I'm just totally curious.
Well, I think that has to do with being a messenger. So
Mm,
there's different muscles for being a messenger. So you're going to be a messenger, then you need to share your story because your story unlocks truths for other people to see the connection between your story and their story. Um, that helps them understand themselves better. And there's an art to doing that. There's an art to being a messenger and to sharing the story in such a way that other people can find themselves in it, which means that um, the art of a messenger is being able to know what parts of a story are relevant to share to unlock something for the other person, and also the energetic to share it. So, because as a messenger, I'm aware that when I share things, um, how I'm holding that thing emotionally creates an impact on the people who are listening. And so if I'm holding something, let's say I'm talking about something that I haven't quite fully processed, it's not completely healed, and I share it, then even if I'm not like crying in that moment or upset, that energetic of grief or whatever the feeling is underneath can totally be felt through my voice. So it's the job of the messenger is really to be that hollow bone, like super hollow bone, and also to be discerning about what pieces of the story do you feel you want to share and why? Like, what's the end result? How do you want to open something up? And these are all decisions, like micro decisions that are made instantly on the fly.
mhm,
As you have more longer periods of like kind of unpacking, like maybe doing a review of other times where you shared things, or maybe it was recorded, like podcast interviews or things like that, and just going back and saying, okay, listening back to this, how much of that story was actually necessary in that moment to share, and how would I refine it now were I to tell that story again? And so I'm
mm.
constantly refining my stories and how I tell them because of what I wanted to create. I want to create an understanding or common link with those people I serve. And I want to do it in such a way that doesn't leave people in the dumps, but like lifts people up to a higher vibration. So
Mhm.
we don't want to add more burden, what I'm trying to say. These are just all kinds of investigations into being a messenger. It's a really unique role, and it deserves its own study.
Well, I appreciate that because I know my parents would it was definitely a critique they had of my qualities. I like to call myself a storyteller, and I used that phrase to excuse my interrupting of people's whatevers. to insert my story, but I know that there have been times I felt really uncomfortable about it. But I also knew that there were times where that story was so important and impactful and that those people appreciated the interruption. And I sometimes think that it leaves seeds for them to kind of think about
Mhm.
later. So to hear that there's a purpose behind it, that it's not just some annoying quality that I have accepted and now embrace, and obviously has become some kind of a career, I guess. Um, that really, it's very comforting. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, well, one thing you can do is this is what I do is I say, I really heard you say, Rainbow, that you've in your life you've noticed yourself feeling inspired to share a story about yourself in relationship to something that somebody was sharing with you because
Mm.
you knew that that story was going to have impact. And the only piece I would offer you in addition to that is to say, do just what I did, like reflect back to the person, hey, I really heard you say this, that, and the other thing, and I really felt your heart when you said this. And are you open to a reflection? Because I have a story of my own that might be illuminating. And
Mm.
that just, that right there is like so inviting. It's like, yeah, I want to hear that story. Usually people are like, yep, I want to hear that. Because they know that you heard them. You just reflected back and they know that they were heard. And if you're going to share something that's going to like illuminate their situation, it's so much easier to see the situation through someone else. That's why I love group mentoring. Most, like all of my programs are group mentoring at this point. I do still do individual sessions, but I love group mentoring because if you've got like a dozen people in a room and they're all working on healing the mother wound, for example, then you're seeing as you're a person in the group sharing, you're seeing yourself in all these other people. They're all learning from you because like if I'm coaching the one person, everybody else is seeing themselves in that person. They're like, "Oh my God, I totally do that." But it's hard for me to see it when I'm doing it, but I can totally see it in this person because I'm not that person. It's so much easier to see it and then you learn from it. So you just get like 12 times the benefit, by being in a group with all these other people. I just find it I have enjoyed it myself. And so I agree with this method. Yeah, I think this method is good.
I appreciate you sharing that method because I don't think anyone has articulated how to solve the problem as clearly as you have. And to actually have a solution instead of a criticism is so helpful. So thank you. I mean, I think this is really important for communication in general. And I can even see how, in a way, you are so articulate and so nurturing and compassionate and like so non-judgmental in the way that you approach it. You really embody this like mother essence. Is
Yummy.
that, can I say that?
Sure.
Like this whole talk, I know we were going to talk more about the mother wound, but like I literally I feel like I've just been listening to like my grandparents used to tell stories.
Mm.
And it feels like I'm sitting here listening to these like stories of old and like life experience and like pearls of wisdom. I don't know, it feels intrusive to interject with how much you're bringing to the table, and we're skipping around. It's been so enlightening, and I still super zoned out. I don't know why, but I'm sure it's meant to
Of
be. But this
course it
is,
is.
I mean, your essence is so nurturing and warm and comforting.
I'm glad to hear that. Been working on my hollow bone. So,
Yeah. Man, I mean, I don't know if you do energy work. I mean, you obviously said you do healing workshops. Whatever you're doing over there for the listeners, I hope they feel it the way I do, because it's gooey. It's like just ooey gooey energy goodness. So yeah, you said you have a mother workshop. Um, please let me know how I can put that in the link. Everybody check the links so that they can reach out to you and
Yeah,
you
the
know.
next Mother Wound workshop, 6 months. It starts in August 1st, weekly,
Ooh.
every week. I do it every week because people tend to need it every week. They need support every week.
Yeah,
So
and
I
that's a
commit to
great
that
reminder.
every
Mhm.
Sunday afternoon for an hour and a half every week. It's just helpful, keeps the momentum going. We do some energy healing. We stir up the dust, we kick some tires. We become aware of some things. We tell stories. We hear each other, and we get activated, and we remember things in ourselves that we maybe repressed or denied. And then we do a healing and we clear the energy. And that helps each of us move forward, even more love, even more prosperity, even more joy, even more abundance coming into our lives. Because that's what happens when you heal the mother wound. Everything opens up. You're opening your heart. And when you open your heart, the sun shines. And when the sun shines, everything grows. So that's the that's how it works.
It sounds so nice. I don't know
Yeah.
about everybody else, but I'm definitely going to be looking into this workshop because I mean, I'm a mom, and like I said, I've been working on my mother wounds. I've been working most of the healing work has actually been my children have been mirroring my experience. Like I literally see so much of myself in my eldest daughter, and there are times I hear my mother's voice come out of me.
Mm-hmm.
The thing, not the nice
Not the
mother,
sweet the
not the
sweet voice.
sometimes I hear that one, but that's not what we're talking about in this particular moment. I'll
Yeah.
hear her exact tone. And it's more often than not now I hear both my parents. It is a bizarre thing to hear it echo out of my
Out of your mouth.
everything. Like
You're like,
it's
what
it's
happened?
oozes out of me. I'm like, and there are times I really have to step back. And I will say that was not appropriate. I'm so sorry, sweetheart. You know what? Let's sit on the floor. Let's talk about your feelings. I will do the exact opposite of what my parents did. I will be accountable. I will say, this is my fault. I broke a promise. I am so sorry. Let me make it up to you right now because making empty promises isn't going to help anybody. I'm gonna do something right now for you. And so that's how I've been working on my mother wound. And I've noticed that where I would, like my mom would do certain things that would cause me to react in other ways, like throw big tantrums. And my daughter started like that. But the more that I drop into this loving place and like, let's take some deep breaths, let's sit down, let's talk about your feelings. I want to understand you. I'm not judging you. I just want to understand why you're doing this. I'm concerned. This is concerning behavior. Let's just talk about it. The more that I get into that space instead of, worrying and blaming and excusing, it's she is so calm.
Hmm.
I don't see tantrums. I see respect. She still makes mistakes, but it's I don't see as much of my very violent child. I was a very very reactive child. Um very very emotionally distraught. And I don't know if it was parents or what, but I have a feeling it was just how things were handled and I felt disrespected in how they were handled and I'm trying to resolve that. And I'm starting to see that my mother is reacting to me even though she's not seeing this. She doesn't live where I live anymore. I barely ever talk to her, but when I do, I can almost hear the same way that I talk to my daughter in the way she talks to me. I don't know how that I guess it's all energy, but it's just really interesting seeing the domino effect kind of going up the line.
Yeah,
And that's how I've
you're
been
doing a
doing
big
it.
healing, doing a big healing on yourself and your daughter, and that's going up the ancestral line. So that's what I said when we heal it 7 generations forward and back. And so you start to change your reality. And it's also changing the mother inside of yourself, the
Mm.
the version of mother inside of you actually changes your vibration, and then you actually pull out a different vibration from your own mother because you're in a different space. And so there's a different
Mm.
aspect of her that comes forward because she feels this new mother within you. It's like it just changes the whole configuration. So it's actually just more love and less fear is the easiest way to say that. Changes the balance, more love, then you have more comfort, you have more safety, and you don't need to
Mm.
act out because you're being heard.
That's beautiful. Wow. Food for thought.
Hmm. That's kind of the magic of this work.
Mm. Well, I know you had said you had brought some medicine. We were talking about doing medicine, about healing ourselves, healing our mother wounds. We talked a lot about working with healing Mother Earth through pretty much a little bit of ancestors, working through, I guess, the mistakes of those who came before us, um, and integrating all of that into a new Earth. I feel like I just like somehow connected everything into
That's
one.
awesome. Yeah. Yeah, I was
So,
going to
are you
take
ready to do
people,
that?
yeah, I was going to take people on a drum journey. So I'm just
Ooh.
going to switch my audio.
If you are driving, you guys, now would be a good time to pause and listen back when you are stationary and in a safe place to trance out. Please do not operate heavy machinery. This is for legal reasons, but if you can drive on, while doing it, I'm not there to. I'm not gonna wag my finger. I'm not your mom.
We're talking about
Be
the mother
safe, you
wound.
guys. Be safe with your healing. Oh my
Awesome.
gosh, it's so pretty. I love all the hummingbirds.
And
Did you
it's got
paint
the,
that?
no, it's
Oh.
painted by an artist named Tarai in Peru in the Sacred Valley. These are hummingbirds and a chacana and San Pedro.
Mm.
So we're gonna do a little, so just get settled in, take a deep breath, everybody. And we welcome the winds of the south to form a supportive container all around us. Bring us to safety with Mother Earth. We welcome the winds of the west. O Torongo Jaguar, protect this medicine space. Show us the way to beauty over that rainbow bridge. We welcome the winds of the north. Place of Siwakenta Hummingbird. Teach us your faith and determination to make that impossible journey outside of time to a new destiny. We welcome all of the beautiful ancestors and guides to be with us. We're so grateful for your presence. Thank you for the healing energies. I welcome my Cherokee ancestors. I welcome the Caro and the Incan from the Andes Mountains. Hampui. Help your Papa Masayuk. Biralta Masayuk. Help your Shakaruna be with me now. Welcome the Wishakata people from Mexico to help us to walk the beauty way, the Toltec, and the beautiful ship people from the jungle. These beautiful songs and healing. We welcome all of our ancestors to be with us. Welcome the Ascended Master, White Eagle, White Buffalo Calf Woman. We welcome the North to help us to remember who we are in truth. We welcome the winds of the East, Eagle Condor, flying so high with the Great Spirit. Help us to fly high as well. Help us to see through the soul's eyes and remember our agreements. We welcome the earth below, Pachamama, Mother Gaia. We're so grateful for these beautiful, healthy, strong bodies and minds that can heal instantly. We welcome the plant medicines. We welcome the trees, the animals, the birds, the rocks, the stones, the crystals, the mountains. We welcome the apus. We welcome the oceans and all of the life in the oceans. We welcome the elements, the earth, the water, the fire, the air. And we welcome Mariposa for transformation. We welcome the sunlight, the moonlight, the starlight, the rainbow light. And we welcome the Great Spirit, God, Source, Creator, Yahweh, Divine Mother, the consciousness, the presence, the essence, the universe, whatever your word is for that which is bigger than us, that we all are. We come into sacred space together. And you're invited to drop into your heart and imagine that it's a room with a circular wall, and you can traverse back along that wall until the back of your heart where you see a door. And you can open the door and walk down the spiral staircase deeper and deeper into your heart. Just with every step, going deeper into your heart with every step. And as you near the end of the stairwell, you reach a platform, and there's a door rimmed in light that you can open. And as you open it, you walk out into the underworld. And we're visiting Peru today. We're visiting Ausangate, the holy mountain, and it rises above you with its snow-covered peak. As you're standing in the meadow facing the mountain, open your heart and ask for healing on behalf of yourself and all your ancestors. And we'll allow the medicine people to do their work as a drum. And taking a moment to feel the energies, to receive all the blessings from our ancestors and from the Rainbow Bridge from which we all came. Thanking the mountain, thanking the medicine people, thanking your ancestors, and bringing yourself back to the doorway that leads to the stairwell, and closing the door behind you, walking up the spiral staircase, all the way back up into your heart, and closing the door behind you. Bringing all of this healing energy through your whole body, from your heart, pumping it through every aspect of you with your blood. Just letting your heart pump it through your whole body.
Thank you so much. That was so powerful. I got so many fun little vision exciting things. I went on a timeless journey. It was epic. It was so amazing. I'm gonna be soaking in that all day.
Yay. And I hope everybody out there enjoyed it too.
Yeah, if they're awake.
You're waking up now, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I was like, oh man, I gotta come back and finish this. Oh, I just want to stay at the bottom of the big snowy mountain. And there was, oh gosh, I mean, just when you were calling everything in, I could feel, I don't know if density is the right word, but I could feel the weight of all of these guides and all, like I could feel them all coming in. It was so heavy and amazing. Oh my God, it was gooey. Oh, it was a good one. Woo. Well, that was such a privilege to have you on. I will be putting a link down below for your book, The Second Wave, as well as, did you have another one, or am I just imagining things?
That's funny. The Second Wave is the book we didn't talk about. But yeah, Second Wave, for anybody who feels like they're part of this raising up of human consciousness. And yeah, I would definitely check that one out. I do tell the story about White Eagle in my other lifetime in that book. It's a good book. And the other one, the newest one, is Love is Fierce, Healing the Mother Wound. That's guided by White Buffalo Calf Woman.
Wow. So yeah. I will be putting links for those down below, as well as where to find Kerri and also her podcast. She's going to have a whole bunch of links. Please take the time, check it out. It was an honor, a privilege. It was so special to have you on today. Thank you for sharing your journey and gosh, today was just exciting. This is fun. Thank you so much.
Yes, I enjoyed this. I also enjoyed your interview on my podcast. So everybody check that out too. It's awesome.
I will do my best to keep you all posted on when that's posted. I don't know when it's posted, but
I don't know either. It's coming out.
See. Thank you all for tuning in today and for listening to this podcast interview and for being a part of that journey, doing the healing work, for continuing to work on yourself, to work towards a higher, better version of yourself. It is so hard to do healing. So I commend all of you for taking taking that risk and for being courageous enough to do that. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. Are you ready to ascend to the next level? This is Rainbow Raaja, your spirit guide calling. Please be sure to keep all arms and legs inside your vessel at all times. I'm just here to remind you to take some time today. Support Rainbow's Rising podcast. Go. Join the Discord community. Check out the Patreon. Get some stickers, custom tarot cards. Check out the merch. The merch. You know you want to. Go connect with Rainbow Raaja. Maybe even get a session. Who knows? Your support helps make this show possible. And she loves to support you. Help support her too. Once again, this is Rainbow Raaja, your spirit guide, guiding you to your ascension.